Okay. Welcome, everybody. We're going to start with Erica today.
All right. The neon red vacancy sign bulbs are burnt out, and only can is illuminated, casting light over the beads of rain on the car window, rendering them rubies. Jackson and Alice have just pulled into a dilapidated motel somewhere in the middle of nowhere. There's a dim light coming from the front office. They park in the practically empty parking lot in a faded chartreuse Lincoln Town car with burgundy velour seats and black fuzzy dice hanging from the rearview mirror. We've only just begun by the Carpenters plays quietly on the radio. Jackson is in the driver's seat. He wears polyester pants, a brown pleather blazer, a silky button-down shirt with the collar open, and a solid gold chain link necklace. He looks older than his 27 years, deep lines around his eyes, a mouth from a rough life. As a child, constantly worrying when the next explosion would occur and the next time he would have to step in and protect his mother from his father. A scar ran down the side of his face. His nose was crooked from taking punches. It was a life that led to jail stints for theft, but now he's trying to turn his life around. Alice sits in the passenger seat. She's tiny. She wears a faux leopard vintage coat, and underneath she wears a worn out beaded burlesque costume. Her face is painted with heavy blue eyeliner, black mascara that makes raccoon rings around her bloodshot eyes. Her silky brown hair still falls in soft waves. She's skin and bones from the amphetamines, but still manages to look beautiful and younger than her 25 years. She's like an Elizabeth Taylor type, something Alice attributes to her dedication to Noxzema, which her grandmother, the only person who ever loved her, taught her to lather on her face every night. Alice is nervously smoking a long, skinny cigarette, her red lipstick staining the filter end, the ash threatening to fall. She starts crying between her deep drags. Alice, everything is going to be okay. Try to relax. Jackson is sincere. Jackson, what are we going to do? Alice is on the verge of getting hysterical. Jackson pulls a fifth of the cheapest whiskey the store had and commands her to take a swig. Reluctantly, Alice follows his demand. Jackson lights a lucky strike and turns to her in frustration. She coughs as the warm liquid slides down her throat, soothing after yelling at Jackson. She did as she did on the long ride from Atlantic City to the middle of nowhere. Better? Jackson asks. Alice softens. Better. He leans in and he kisses her tenderly. Every time Alice is kissed in a car, she thinks about the story her mother once told her before Alice was born. Alice's baby cousin was rushed to the hospital, and Alice's parents were there for hours waiting and praying, but the baby didn't survive and she was pronounced dead from a rare heart condition. On the drive home from the hospital that night, Alice's parents were distraught. They pulled over to the side of a deserted road and comforted each other by making love. That was the night Alice was conceived. Her mother knew because she hadn't had her birth control with her. It always fascinated Alice, the idea of one soul maybe passing into another. She felt like it made her special somehow. It helped her feel less alone. She always had a guardian angel. The news comes on the easy listening station, interrupting. It's an update on the mafia hitman Joseph Mad Dog Sullivan, who just 5 hours before had escaped from the Attica Correctional Facility. The report confirms that he's still on the lam. Alice is upset again. Jackson, what the fuck are we going to do? I told you it was a bad idea. Alice trembles. Attica is supposed to be impossible to escape from. How the hell could I have foreseen this? Jackson implores. You know Mad Dog. He's capable of anything. Alice is in a daze. Come on, we'll get a room, get some sleep. Everything will look better in the morning. Jackson says. The rain has now turned into icy snow. They're in the room, and as they're in their room, the snow hits the window of their motel room, playing along rat-a-tat-tat to the jazz playing low on the radio. Alice sits on the edge of the bed, anxiously wringing her hands. Jackson paces the room. Alice finally speaks. You're absolutely positive Jimmy the brick didn't see anything, Jackson, right? Jackson continues to pace. Jackson, I told you he didn't, Jackson barks back. You know, Alice, you're like those swans in Central Park. Like a swan? Jackson stomps out a cigarette with unneeded force, but it's still smoking in the amber-colored ashtray. Alice rises from the edge of the bed and extinguishes the cigarette. Yeah, swan, because swans sit there looking pretty and innocent, but they're highly unpredictable. You know, swans only attack when their mate is threatened, Alice says. And how do you know that? Jackson says, amused. I know a lot of things, Alice replies cheekily. That is the truth. Jackson is sincere. Alice tries to cozy up to him. She's hard to resist. He half embraces her, but he gently puts space between them. They're quiet, and then Alice breaks the silence. Jackson, you remind me of an octopus. And why is that? Jackson is suspicious because they have 9 brains and 3 hearts, and you're smart and you're loving. As he lets Alice move in close to him, he leans in to kiss her. She pulls away and starts squawking and acting like an agitated swan. Jackson tries to capture her, but she evades him until he's finally able to grasp her gently around the waist. They topple onto the bed. They lay there laughing till they're out of breath, and they're side by side. He takes her hand in his. I promise you, Alice, everything's going to be okay. I believe you, Jackson.
Nice. Thank you. I do remember you reading that, but I don't remember it. I don't remember all of that. Like, have you added to it or yeah, okay. It feels more because it was in process, I think, when you read it before. And so it has more of a, I mean, conclusion as much as you can and with, it being a moment in time, right?
Yeah.
I like it. I like where it went.
Thank you.
Go for it.
I was just gonna say though, I expected at the end a knock at the door.
That's good. Then they have to climb out the window of the bathroom.
I don't know, but it really moved along. It was very compelling, and I was like, oh, what's gonna happen next? And then it was over.
See, that's such a good note because even if it's a short story, the knock on the door is a great ending. Even if I was, yeah. Thanks, Vicky. Thanks.
Anything else to share?
I was just going to say the, the chartreuse Lincoln with the burgundy interior, the pleather, and the fake fur. I mean, that created an entire ethos and setting for me that was just like you set the hook early with that. That's all I'm saying. So it was very nice. Thanks.
Cool. Thank you. It's funny, I feel more exposed reading that than my true stories. So I'll talk about that in therapy on Tuesday. Thank you, everyone.
That's so interesting. Yeah. Huh. Yeah. I wonder if that's just because maybe when you got to the place where you wanted to start sharing your true stories, your life stories, that you were just like ready for that, or like you had maybe insecurities about that initially, but now that you've been doing it for so long, and because it sounds like you don't share fiction or even write fiction all that often. Is that true? Yeah. Well, that makes sense. Yeah.
You know how often people who write anything get asked if that's based on something out of your life, and of course the thing about fiction is it's so often you can't help reality. I mean, reality is just a thing that happens other than what your participation in it is. It's stuff that happens to you and might be any random thing, but your imagination is all in your control. So that's why it's it can be way more exposing feeling. So I kind of get that in that way.
yeah, I'm really going to think about this because, like, the imagination somehow, for me, I feel more protective of or fearful of judgment than, well, that I still have to talk about this in therapy, but I like all this feedback. Thank you.
Thanks again for sharing. I want to make sure you saw Mary, I think it was Mary Jo's, Mary Jo's comment about that the arrow was very clear. I would agree with that car description. And the motel. Okay. Shall we shift to some music storytelling?
Yeah, I could do this one. This is, I sort of use this venue to sort of air a bunch of ditties and worse that I've done over time. So this is just a place to put it out in the air and have people hear it. And I do occasionally do sort of influenced by topical events, which I try not to. I like to think I'm more of a Malvina Reynolds type of topical person than a Phil Oakes type topical person. If any of you are of an age where you can relate to either of those references, but this one I kind of feel is very appropriate with the news cycle of today. Kind of reinvigorated this song. This is a little ditty I wrote a few years ago in. A little bit in frustration and hope, both, but now hope is starting to gleam through. This is called the Frog March, and I was, aside from trying to write in different sort of formats, this one I thought I'd try and write a march. So, and the upraised Roman style salute, scissored legs, each strutting goose. Tromping by reviewing crowds gathered under thunder clouds. We pause to look for lightning bolts on each button and each coat. It is odd in this display, no smiles are seen on any face. No joy at all in this charade, no sign of heart in this parade. Perhaps the band plays off key, the chosen march fails to please. The triumphal tune that rings false, tapers off, and legions pause. The next tune starts full of trills, the masses cheer, moved and thrilled. The tune is no, not flawed or arch, the one they want, the Frog March. The smiles are now on every face, hands wave high, some dance in place. This change of score, it's clear hits home, this is why they all have come. The trumpets herald the victory large, the end of gloom, the Frog March.
Nice. I want to know more. I want to know what's going on.
So you know the term frog march?
No.
When they when the police catch a perpetrator by
Oh,
each arm and march them to the Huskow. And right now, I'm sort of, just not to get political, but I'm sort of hoping we have a little perp walk of note coming up soon in the next few days. So this is my salute to.
got it. Got it. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for, I've never heard that term before.
You know, Christina, I explain a lot to you. Maybe I should do a little more pre-explaining before, because maybe I'm just way too esoteric, but
No, I like the
we learn
essence.
something new every day, right?
Yes, we do. And I appreciate the education. So thank you.
I'll try not to be pedantic. That's all I can say.
No, I like it.
I like your vibe. It's hard to do to sound good on Zoom, but you did it. I like it. It's like bluegrassy, right? Like who's your favorite, who's your favorite musician?
Oh, I wouldn't say I have a favorite, but you know, it's kind of the old, you know, for the most part, it's kind of the folk canon for the most
Oh,
part.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I hear some Dylan. I hear some, no, maybe.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm of an age, you know, where that's unavoidable.
Me too.
Well, he's lived a long time, so I guess that's not saying so much. But yeah, I mean, he was
Yeah.
pretty influential, and but
Thank you.
I'm glad to hear it came across. It's hard to get the sense of feedback on here, and I don't always go back and listen to myself on YouTube. That's the self therapy that I resist, you know, as going back and listening to the YouTubes. But I'm glad it came across. That's good.
That's cool.
All right. Well, thank you, Jonathan. If we have time for another one, I think we probably will, since they're a little shorter. We'd love to hear another one. Vicky, would you like to go next?
Sure. And this is a true story. My only child survived their father's suicide by writing songs. My kid was 14. I survived my husband's death by taking care of my kid. I was already a helicopter mom, but after that, I was with my kid 24/7. I mean, I practically stood outside the door of their classroom at school. Okay, sometimes I actually did stand outside the door of the classroom at school because I was afraid that a cloud of depression would swallow up my kid as it had their dad. I was afraid something terrible would happen. My kid wrote songs because they were in this program, School of Rock. And my kid goes by the pronouns they, them. I just have one kid. So they were in School of Rock. And this was a program that my late husband had discovered and enrolled my kid when they were 10. They loved it. School of Rock teaches kids how to play instruments and puts them in bands and teaches them those classic rock songs by David Bowie and Led Zeppelin. And the kids play out at local venues for parents and friends. Also, there's a songwriting class. My kid had written a couple songs about, you know, Mean Girls or being in the summer theater musical, but now they wrote song after song about losing their dad. Songs with lyrics like, why couldn't I make you happy enough? I feel sad. I don't want to leave my house. And when my kid had a lot of songs, they started to play them at this coffee house. And in the set, there would often be a cover, you know, a song written by somebody else. And most often that cover was I'll Drown by Soleil, an Icelandic artist. He lives alone in his house out there, far, far away. He sleeps with his eyes open. One day, when my kid was in high school, my kid said to me, Mom, I need to go to Iceland. I said, what? Iceland, Mom, the music, Soleil's from Iceland. Daddy would have understood. Iceland? Mom, I think that Soleil writes the music she does because of the landscape. And my kid showed me some pictures of Iceland. And yeah, it was pretty otherworldly, waterfalls and fjords and the northern lights. And my kid said, Mom, when I feel anxious, I look at the photographs and feel calm. Well, okay. Maybe Iceland could be a graduation trip gift thing. Great. We could do that. What do you mean we? Well, I would take you. I'm not going to go with you. Well, honey, you've never been outside the country. I mean, you've barely left California except to visit family. You have to let go of me, Mom. How would you get around? I'll drive. You don't have a license. I'll get a license. You can't rent a car until you're 25, not in Iceland. We were not getting along. Things were tense. My late husband was the fun parent. He was the one who introduced my kid to Abbott and Costello and took them to their first concert, Bob Dylan. And I was the parent who nagged about the homework and nagged about doing the science project. Okay, I actually did the science project and I won. But I worried. I worried all the time. And one day my late husband's sister called up to ask how my kid was doing. And I said, you're not going to believe this. My kid is insisting on going to Iceland by themselves to listen to the music. And my sister-in-law said, we could all go. What? We love to travel, never been to Iceland. My husband could plan it all. Oh, okay. Well, great. So I said to my kid, would you go to Iceland with your aunt and her family? Okay. Yes. Oh, wait. Are you going? I thought I would go too. Yes. Okay, then no. All right, I'm just going to call her up and I'm going to say that you won't let me go. Oh, play the martyr. I have to feel guilty. I won't let you go. Okay. No, it's off. I'm not going. You've ruined everything. So I waited a couple weeks. And one day after school, I said to my kid, hey, I thought we'd go over to REI and get hiking boots and quilted jackets for us for Iceland. My kid didn't say anything, but they got in the car and we went to REI. On the big day, we flew to New York City and we met up with my late husband's sister, her family. That was her husband, her 3 kids. 2 of them, boy and girl, were a little older than my kid, and she had a younger son. So all 7 of us flew to Iceland. And as soon as we're off the plane, yes, my brother-in-law had everything all planned. We were immediately in that van that could seat 7. He had it all mapped out. We were on our way. He had all the hotels booked in. Yeah, it was kind of nice to just sit back and then, every now and then just jump out and run over to a waterfall or a fjord. And my kid talked to their cousins, ignoring me, which was fine. So we got to the end of the day. We checked into the hotel. And my brother-in-law by then had taken a lot of photos. And I said, well, this trip will be well documented. And my brother-in-law said, my mother said there's nothing to see in Iceland. I'm going to show her. So we were in the hotel and then he had us up at 6 a.m. because apparently we had missed a few things that first day and we were going to have to cram them in and there would be a lot of driving. And he said he would put on some music. And my kid said, great, I want to hear the music of Iceland. And he said, well, I don't think so. And so he put on his playlist from his phone and out came Taylor Swift, Love Story. And my kid actually turned around in the seat in front of me and looked at me as if to say, are you kidding me? Not to take anything away from Taylor Swift, but we'd actually come to Iceland to hear Icelandic music. All these other pop stars, American pop stars came on. And then there was a recording of Jewish comedians and they would tell jokes like, this guy says to me, how's your wife? I said, compared to who? And the family would just yell out the punchlines, right? They must have listened to this tape a million times. My kid and I were silent. Dinner time, we pulled into a restaurant and the specialties were sheep's heads and ram's testicles. My kid and I are vegetarians. We ate a lot of bread. And so it went. Yes, the scenery was stunning, but at the pace that we were going, it was all a blur. We're exhausted. My kid would sleep as much as they could in the van, and we were hungry. The last 2 days of the trip, of this 1 week trip, we got to Reykjavik, and we went into the hotel, we checked in, and then my brother-in-law said, we men will hike to the water tower. You girls will want to shop. My kid and I didn't dare look at each other. We would have burst out laughing. So we set off for the shopping, my sister-in-law and her daughter, my kid and me. And those shops were full of, heavy coats and enormous sweaters, just what we would need living in Southern California. And finally, my kid asked if we could go over to this vinyl record store. The others had no interest. So my kid and I headed for that store. And I said to my kid, look, this is the kind of place they might know of some local musicians performing tonight. And my kid shrugged. We went in. I said something to the clerk. And he said, oh, there's a big festival in 3 days. Artists coming in from all over Iceland. I said, we'll have gone home by then. He said, there is a pre-festival concert. It's not advertised, but it is open to the public. It's over at the Whale Museum. A number of people from the festival are going to perform. One of my favorites, you probably never heard of her, Soleil. My jaw dropped. My kid and I looked at each other. We were giddy. I thought, did my late husband throw us down a gift from the other world? This was impossible. That was amazing. The guy had a ticket link. I bought tickets for everybody. We rushed back to the hotel. They were all there. They were playing cards. And I said, oh my gosh, this is incredible. But my kids, one of my kids' favorite artists is performing tonight. I got tickets. My brother-in-law said, oh, I think we'll pass. I said, okay, I think, we're just going to head out because we don't want to be late. And I went straight to a vegan restaurant. And I asked the server, is there anything fun to do or see in this neighborhood? We have a little time before we're going to this concert. And the server said, well, there's something kind of fun down the street. It's called the Penis Museum. Oh, yes. We finished our meal and we were out the door and we made straight for that Penis Museum. It was filled with penises of every shape and size from every mammal. And there were funny captions because it was the collection of an eccentric school teacher. And my kid and I took pictures of each other with the largest specimen, the penis of the sperm whale. And the caption was, it is a Moby Dick. And then we headed out. We headed out through the streets of Reykjavik, past the warehouses, all the way to the sea. And there was this big concrete building, the Whale Museum. And we went inside. And it was all blue light, as if we were underwater. And there were these recorded sounds, like probably whales singing. And we came to this open space, and there was a humongous whale, plastic whale, hanging from the ceiling. And beyond was the stage. She came out. Soleil came out onto the stage, and she sang, you'll never escape from this sad, sad house. I take his hand and whisper, I'll drown when I see you. I'll drown when I see you. I hugged my kid, and they did not pull away.
What a gorgeous story. Oh, yeah. So many emotions. Hilarious, horribly sad. I like that you hit us with that initial gut punch there. That's a powerful, that is your life. That's intense, and it's a very compelling way to start a story. I remember a story that you told. I don't 100% remember it, but I remember parts of your story that you told. I don't remember when that was, last spring, I guess. And you talked about your kid, and I think it was, and that you alluded to your late husband, but there was no reason. It wasn't clear on how that happened. So this is a good it was good. Good follow-up. I don't know if you can say that, but I appreciate knowing more, and your storytelling I love it. It's great. Yeah.
Me too. I love how you take this pretty intense topic of the relationship with your kid at a time when parent-kid relationships are tough, those teen years, and woven so much humor, and just kept pushing it forward between the emotional impact and the humor. It was just great.
Do you memorize and is that all memorized?
Yeah, yes. But if you looked at the typed page, it wouldn't be quite the same. You know, it's it's a little different. It's more conversational, I guess, than what's on there. It's not exactly that, but it's close. Yeah, I'm just looking right now. I'm like, oh yeah, that's different. Oh yeah, that's a little different. It evolves a little bit, and like eventually it gets pretty set. And then sometimes I have to retype it all because I go, oh, that's kind of evolved. There's a new joke there. There's a new thing, and so, but some storytellers just work totally orally. I don't, and I think Erica and I both share that we do keep written versions and really try to stick to what we've chosen.
So, and I think you mentioned that this is a news story.
Yeah, this is something that happened a while back. Obviously, my kid's 24 now, so this is when they were in high school. But I never wrote about it because my first version was just bitching about my brother-in-law. And that wasn't really much of a story. Like, it was just like, he ruined the trip and blah, blah, blah. And then there's what do you call it? An in-person show coming up that has music themes. That has to have music and bands and things as a theme. And I thought, oh, I'll pull this out and see if I can make it really just more about me and my kid, and that the brother-in-law is not a bad person or anything. He just has his way, and that somehow my kid going on this and I going on this trip together pulled us together, and we realized what we had in common.
So effective. Yes. Good choice.
You didn't have to say all the stuff. Just by saying that he controlled everything and got you up at 6 a.m, that was enough. Right. We have the picture, So
right.
that was a good choice too, because then if your brother-in-law ever hears the story, you're not going to get in trouble with the family.
Fortunately, this is not something, storytelling is nothing my brother-in-law would ever be interested in. So I think I'm pretty safe. He's a doctor. He doesn't even be interested in this. I'll just share one other thing with you though, that my kid is a touring musician now. And music is so much a part of their life, and it really did start, I think, with channeling all their emotions into their songwriting when they lost their dad. I think they would have been a musician anyway, but I'm not sure they would have been a singer-songwriter like they are.
Do they still sing some of the songs that they wrote when they were purging?
Not really, Jonathan. They did for years. And in fact, I knew my kid was really turning a corner when they started dating their first boyfriend and started writing about him. And I was like, yes, good, And I mean, those songs exist. They're taped. Some are still on SoundCloud, I think. But no, they write about a lot of other things now, which is thank goodness, But yet sometimes it'll be in there, right? Because obviously it's a big traumatic thing that happened. So sometimes there'll be some reference, but not as all encompassing. The first songs they wrote were like literally how it happened, all these things. And so they don't write that way anymore.
Well, thank you for workshopping that with us. And yeah, I think it's a good choice for this next upcoming event that you have. One more question for you. Sorry. When you do your storytelling, are you ever a person that will, compile your stories and then publish them or do anything or put them out there in that medium?
Once in a while I tried, but I never got anywhere. I tend to think that my stories are part and parcel of me. I feel like my story is more than what's on the page. It's me telling it. I remember I took this writing class one time and they were all about writing. None of them were performers at all, right? All on the page. And they would just read what I'd written and they would go, we don't know who this person is. And I would say, but I couldn't seem to explain to them, it's meant to be done out loud. I will be standing there. I don't really have to say that I'm a woman of a certain age and I don't really have to say. And so I did try once in a while. It didn't happen, but I do think that's partly why they're so interwoven, right, with who I am, and maybe how I look at the audience or something makes them laugh, and that's just not in there. It's not in the page.
I don't know if you've ever had the opposite experience of people who are mostly writers, you know, like that's their format, and then they read their stuff, and you go, you should get somebody else to read it. I mean, you know, because there's no there when it's read, which is kind of an odd thing. You'd think that it would be, you know, like what you experience, where the fact that you're telling your story would give it that extra dimension, and sometimes people just don't have that, you know.
Oh, for sure. I have a friend of mine runs a wonderful spoken word series out in Joshua Tree in the desert. So she wants artists of all types, not just, you know, storytellers or actors or anything. She wants everyone, right, to be part of this community and share things about their life. And she really has to work with them a lot, Jonathan, to get it up off the page, get their heads out of the book. So I totally agree with you. Someone could be an amazing writer and maybe not that strong about presenting their own work orally.
Well, thanks again. And yes, you don't have that problem. Erica wrote in the chat that you should have your own Netflix special, which I think we can all agree with that. Yeah, Vicky's like, yeah. Netflix, if you're watching. Okay, Mary Jo, are you ready to share?
I'm ready. This is for, and if anybody wants to check it out, Tuesday, National Storytelling Network is having it's a curated show. It's called Food for Thought. All the stories have to do with food, and it's free. So you just go on National Storytelling website. It's Tuesday at, I don't know, Pacific time. I think it's at six. I don't know. You have to check. Probably Pacific time is going to be at 4 or 5. I think it's 6 Central. I'm not sure.
When you get a chance, would you mind putting that in the chat, just the web address?
Oh, okay.
Is that okay? Or when you're done.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay,
I will. Ha ha. That's what my dad's family calls horseradish. And whenever we visited my dad's family, it was always on the table. My uncles would be, pass the ha-ha throughout the whole meal. Now, I only eat ha-ha once a year on gefilte fish. And I only eat gefilte fish once a year, and that's at Passover. Now, gefilte fish is this chopped up white fish, and then it's with some kind of seasoning, and then it's shaped into irregular little balls or patties and stuck into this sort of gelatinous mass that's sort of hard to identify, and you kind of have to rinse it off. But I like it. You know, I grew up with it. I think if you didn't grow up with it, you would think it was disgusting. Actually, I think that gefilte fish is the reason that there's anti-Semitism, because if you fed it to somebody and then they go, this is what Jews like, I don't really think I like Jews. We could offset that with kugel. But I do like gefilte fish, and I I think everybody should at least try gefilte fish with or without the haha. Sorry, I messed up the ending.
Wait, how did you mess it up? I didn't get it.
Oh,
I didn't get
I
a
just, yeah, I did sort of, but
Oh,
that's okay. I haven't said it in a while. I thought, oh, I better start practicing it for Tuesday. So,
well, good. This is a great place for that.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know that did you say you messed up the end? Is that
Yeah, the way
Oh.
that I wanted to say the
Oh,
ending, but that's okay. Yeah, nobody knows when you mess it up. Like, and with story, I'll just say I'm sort of the opposite of what Vicky and Erica do. I have a few notes to myself because I think it's my story. I know the story.
Mhm.
And so I talk it into my phone app and listen back. And then I think, oh, I said the word value too many times. So then I'll think about putting in other words. And usually I have a card with the beginning written out, the first one or two sentences, and the ending. And then, 3 to 5 bullet points. And that's what I practice off of. And then I do write on it, like if I want to use a certain word that I want to visually stimulate myself to remember to use a better adjective or adverb or something. So it's just
Yeah.
everybody has their own way of doing it. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I
think.
was just gonna say that is fascinating. I'm sure there's like millions of ways to go about
Yeah.
process.
And I'm really sort of pissed because sometimes, like, there's this one show that's coming up and I'm thinking of submitting a story and they want you to write the whole thing out, and I'm like, ugh. So then I record it and then I transpose it.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. And then so for you in that process, do you then once you've transcribed it and you read it back to yourself, do you then like change things, or do you just go with it as it came out live, I guess?
Yeah, I do probably make a few changes and then I mean you don't have to actually have the whole story. I think they want it like around 300 words. And so then I could put something in parens like, more description of playing with the dog or something, whatever. So,
I see.
but it still twists my brain. I mean, I write too, but not my stories.
This is what voice to text was built for. So,
Yeah, I think there is a.
Yeah, you just say it. You probably, if you have a smartphone, you could probably do it on there and then just edit it for punctuation. But I just a little cheat for you.
But then how do I get it from the phone to the computer?
Well, you can forward it to yourself by email. It's the little square box with the arrow in it.
Thank you.
Full of tips.
Again, all the new things you learn every day.
Yeah, that makes sense. Forwarding it. Thank you.
I just want to say I loved it as somebody who converted to Judaism over many, many years. And one of the first things I had to, long ago, I was dating someone that put me to the test. I had to pass as Jewish at this family Seder and learn all these prayers and all this stuff. And I didn't know, I had no idea what, gefilte fish was or anything. And then they made fun of me because I really liked it and they didn't. So then, and I also loved Manischewitz and no one else did. And I liked all the sweet stuff. And then, so anyway, I guess I'm just saying that I just really related to that, and I really appreciated your description of it. But then you admitted you actually liked it, and I just really, and the horseradish, same thing. I only have it once a year. I loved it.
Oh, good. Yeah, I just remembered the transition that I forgot. So I went, I don't think I like Jews. And then I was supposed to say, well, people don't hate the Swedes for lutefisk or the Scots for haggis. And then go into the ending. That I knew I forgot something. Anyway, sorry. And thank you, Vicky.
That's good.
That may be a dubious assertion, because I've known some people that copped an attitude about lutefisk that was pretty generalized. So
Wait, you're saying that they didn't like they don't like Swedish people because of that specific food? No.
They questioned the whole Swedish culture because of lutefisk. Yes.
Wow.
It's
That
like
person is
broad brush, very broad brush.
It's a questionable person. That's what I'm gonna say that instead of.
Then they've never been to a really good smorgasbord.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No.
I love it. Like, you've developed it. I heard it in Swap a few weeks ago. And I think, yeah, the comparison to other cultures, because it's like dark, funny, you know what I mean? Like, it's getting intense there, but funny still. Like, it's, but and I love the description of what gefilte fish is. That came out like in this July, and it's like your delivery was really, really good on it too.
I was just gonna say that, Erica, that the comparison to other cultures, I think that's a good addition for sure. I agree with that. Well, thank you. Jonathan, did you want to do one more song? Close us out?
I can do if you want to take some time. Yeah, I'll do another one.
How long of a song is it?
Yeah, it's not very long. I've got some longer ones. They're all ditty length. So
okay.
And I don't do any instrumental, fill. So I'll just go with this is it's called "The Dream That Woke Me." What are these visions that almost seem real? Message from within or a guide from far afield? It was a dream that woke me, caused me to stir. Blue-eyed baby held in the arms of a dark-eyed girl. A love from a lifetime that never will be. Someone else was watching just like me. It was a dream that woke me. I woke up in a sweat, surrounded by some old friends, some I'd never met. We all were happy, all young and free. I bought a round for everyone and an extra one for me. It was a dream that woke me. I thought I was back home. Open arms all around. You never did feel alone. That dream is always gonna lead me to grief. But all alone I found myself. I reckon that's how I'll leave. It was a dream that woke me, where all the faces change, where every room has an extra door. Familiar rooms look so strange. Where time is shifted, all the lines are bent. Even though I did awake, I couldn't shake the sense. What are these visions that almost seem real? Message from within or a guide from far afield? It was an old dream that woke me, same one as before. Faces of the children peering from every open door. Everyone was smiling, not fainting, frail or scared. It's a dream that should wake us all. Let us be prepared.
Nice. Thank you. Feels like a lilting way to end the evening and have a, yeah, relax us into the later nights.
It was nice meeting you all, and I hope we hope to welcome you back to virtual St. John's, Portland soon.
Yes, indeed. I'm going to end our recording if I can remember how to do that. Stop recording.